All right, let's get real for a minute. Just a straight up, honest conversation. If you're in your 30s, maybe your 40s, I want you to take a second and really, truly think about this next question.
And look, I don't mean the cash in your checking account for rent or bills. I mean real savings, money that's invested, money that's actually working for you. For a lot of us, that's a pretty tough question to answer, isn't it?
But what if I told you there's a simple calculation, a tool that financial pros use to give you a clear target for your age? It's something most of us have never even seen before. And honestly, seeing the number can be a bit of a shock. But facing it, that is the absolute first step to getting off that financial autopilot we all fall into. Just living paycheck to paycheck.
So, let's break it down. And I want you to think of this formula less like a final grade on your financial life and more like a map. It's just here to show you exactly where you are so you can figure out the best way to get where you actually want to go. Okay, so this whole thing, it really just boils down to 3 key parts of your life. First, your annual cost of living, and you've got to be brutally honest with yourself here. This is everything, not just rent, not just food, it's the vacations, the dinners out, all of it. Second is your age, which matters because time is by far your biggest advantage when it comes to investing. And third, your savings rate, the actual percentage of your income you're managing to sock away. So here it is, the formula in all its glory. You take that total annual cost of living number, you multiply it by your age, and then you multiply that by your savings rate. Just remember to use a decimal for the percentage. Let's make this concrete with a couple of examples. All right, let's put some real numbers to this. Take Mariana. She's 30. Her lifestyle costs her $60,000 a year. So we multiply that by her age, 30, and then by 0.10 for a 10% savings rate. Her target, her ideal net worth, should be around $180,000. But check this out, if she can just bump that savings rate up to 15%, her target jumps to $270,000. Now look at Lucas, 35, higher cost of living. At that same 15% savings rate, his target is over $500,000. It just goes to show you how absolutely crucial that savings rate is.
Now, here's the most important thing to remember about this. Please do not let this number get you down. It is not a judgment. It's not a grade. It is just a reference point. If your number is lower, that's okay. Now you have a clear goal. You know which way to point the ship. It gives you a direction.
Okay, so that's your ideal net worth. But what about the big one? The ultimate goal for so many of us, financial independence. The point where your investments are literally paying for your life. Well, the formula for that is even simpler. Just take your annual cost of living and divide it by the annual rate of return you expect from your investments.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Just look at how much your rate of return changes the entire game. So for Mariana, with her $60,000 a year lifestyle, a pretty conservative 6% return means she needs $1 million saved up. But if she can get a more aggressive 15% return, she only needs $400,000. Getting better returns literally moves the finish line closer to you. It's a huge deal.
But, and this is maybe the single most important piece of the puzzle, we have to talk about real returns. If your investments go up 10%, but inflation is 5%, you didn't really make 10%. Your real gain was only 5%. You have to beat inflation. If you don't, you're getting richer on paper, but you're actually getting poorer in real life because your money buys less and less each year.
Okay, I know exactly what a lot of you are probably thinking right now. These numbers feel impossible. The game feels rigged. If you feel like everything is just harder than it's supposed to be, I want you to know you're not going crazy. And you're not wrong. So let's talk about why. We're going to diagnose what's going on here. There are really 2 huge forces working against us, making it so much harder to get ahead. One of them is psychological, and the other one is purely economic, and you have to understand both of them to have a fighting chance. You see, we're kind of caught in the middle of 2 different crises happening at the same time. On one side, you have the attention crisis, where basically everything you see online is engineered to make you scared or angry, because that's what gets you to click. And on the other side, you have the economic crisis, where the basic building blocks of a stable life, like owning a home, just feel like they're slipping further and further away. And look, this isn't just a feeling you have that the world is more angry. It is literally by design. This data shows how words designed to provoke outrage have exploded in the media since 2010. Why? It's simple. Fear and anger keep you glued to the screen.
This quote right here, it just nails it. It sums up the entire business model. Saying things are mostly okay, doesn't sell ads. Conflict does. The goal of these algorithms isn't to inform you, it's to provoke you. Because that emotional reaction, that's what they sell.
Now, let's switch gears to the economic side. That psychological pressure works so well because the financial reality is genuinely difficult. I mean, think about this. For our parents' generation, buying a house cost about 3 times the average salary. Today, it's almost 7 times. We are, without a doubt, playing this game on a much harder difficulty setting.
And you know, if you zoom out and look at history, this pattern isn't new at all. Great powers, whether it was the Roman Empire or the British Empire, they all followed a pretty similar path. They rise, they get powerful, and then they start to decline under the weight of too much debt and too much internal fighting. It's a cycle that's worth paying attention to.
All right, I know, that was a little heavy, but you have to understand the problem to find the solution. So now, for the good part, the most important part. What in the world do we do about all this? How do we take back control when everything feels so chaotic?
It all comes down to a super simple but incredibly powerful 3-step plan. Step 1, you have to create a gap. Live 1 step below what you can actually afford. Step 2, use that gap to attack any high-interest debt you have. Trying to invest while you have credit card debt is like trying to fill a bucket that has a giant hole in it. In step 3, once the leaks are plugged, you pay your future self first. You invest consistently, automatically, every single month.
When you really boil it all down, it's about one simple choice. The person who builds real wealth is the one who consumes a little less today so they can have way more freedom and options in the future. The person who stays in debt does the exact opposite. You just have to decide, which you are you going to put first?
And look, this goes way beyond just the money. We need a playbook for how to live in this kind of world, so focus on building and owning real things. Pour your time and energy into your family and your community, the stuff that really matters. Focus only on what's in your circle of control. Be ruthless about what information you let into your brain. And maybe most important of all, reject the idea that trying is pointless. That is a trap.
You know, there's this really fascinating theory called the fourth turning, and it basically argues that history moves in seasons, just like a year. And right now, it feels like we're in the winter, a tough time of crisis where old things get torn down. But what always comes after winter? Spring, a time for rebuilding.
And that right there, that leads us to the final, most empowering idea of all. We don't control what central banks do. We don't control politicians or the media. But we have 100% control over our own choices, our own spending, our own mindset every single day. That's where our real power is.
So I'll leave you with this. In a world that is just saturated with noise and anger and distraction, what will you choose to build? What will you build for yourself, for your family, for your future? That's the only question that really matters.
Nelle sole sul gossip che può versi